The Boyle Heights Heritage Joint Initiative was launched in November of 2009 by the Consulates General of Israel, Japan, and Mexico in Los Angeles at the residence of the Consul General of Mexico to celebrate the common historic heritage of the Jewish, Japanese, and Mexican communities in Boyle Heights, and to reinvigorate the bonds of the three communities through a series of joint events. And I know what some of you are thinking, what's a guy named Buckley saying? I've seen that from any of those communities. Well, my mother was Japanese, and as she used to say to me when I was growing up, あなたの体には日本人の血が流れてるねよ、忘れないでね. Which you all know what that means. What my mother was saying was, don't forget that you have Japanese blood in you too. And I think she was also trying to say, don't ever forget where you came from. And I think that's why we're all here tonight, to make sure, we are determined to make sure that we remember where we came from.
As I believe most of you know, Boyle Heights is located to the east of the museum, between the Los Angeles River and the city boundary. And from the 1920s to the 50s, this city, Boyle Heights, I think was one of the most ethnically diverse neighborhoods in our county.
And especially today, when our kids are not living together in joint communities, or much less than before, it's important to remind them that this is the joint history that we have. That the Jews and the Japanese and the Mexicans were living together, working together, side by side, mainly because we want also to celebrate a very promising future together.
This initiative is truly about not only what we were, that is very important to know and to be said and a story to be told, but it's also, like Jacob Dayan was saying, to build and to make everybody know that together we can really build a better future, not only for our communities, but to all the communities as a whole.
My particular welcome goes to Congresswoman Lucille Rivera-Arad, because you know, the whole idea of this joint event came from Congresswoman Lucille Rivera-Arad. She inspired us to remember the wonderful history of a wonderful community in East Los Angeles, and she also inspired us to energize our historic friendship toward the future.
For those that lived in multiracial sections of the different neighborhoods in Boyle Heights, the local elementary school saw Jewish, Mexican, Japanese, and other kids in the same classrooms and on the same playground. More often than not, elementary grades were dominated by the same ethnic group that made up the immediate geographic area. And many students really first experienced their true first multiracial school environment in junior high school. At this level, several neighboring school regions were drawn together for middle grades, and individual students noticed the racial transformation of the student body. Frida Mallow, for example, one of our interviewees, remembered her younger brother deciding to call himself Garcia instead of Ginsburg at Hollenbeck Junior High, making a lot of friends for himself.
The multicultural spirit apparently permeated this, got onto the streets as well. According to gangster Mickey Cohen, who was raised in Boyle Heights, Boyle Heights is strictly a ghetto neighborhood. I'm quoting him. Boyle Heights was strictly a ghetto neighborhood. Italians, Jews, Mexicans, down the way, Russian town. If anyone called someone a kike, a spick, a wop, in our neighborhood, we'd all gang up and beat their heads in.
I saw this incredible documentary that I recommend you all see if you haven't already seen it. It's called Meet Me at Brooklyn and Soto. I think it's the Jewish Historical Society, right? I saw this when I was about 27 years old. And you know, when people, I remember like when I was in Australia, I was at a playwrights festival, and I would tell people that I grew up in, you know, Boyle Heights. They didn't know. Like, and then I said East Los Angeles, and they're like, oh my God, aren't you afraid you're going to get shot, you know? And it really hurt me that the only reference people had of my neighborhood or was in East Los Angeles, calling it East LA, but also that there was nothing but gangs and bad things coming out of there. And I always felt like I wanted to change that perception, and so I was 27 years old. I saw that documentary, and I really, it changed my life because I knew that Boyle Heights was a great place to grow up in. I just didn't know the history. I didn't know how amazing it was, and so when I saw that documentary, I said, wow, I know this is, I took it as a sign, like, I have to go back there, I have to go back there.
Now, my folks don't know this, but I would just, you know, because my grandparents were busy doing their thing, I just kind of wander out in the neighborhood and go around the corner, and there were these kids, you know, these other boys just kind of hanging out at the corner liquor store. That's when I started to learn about things like raspada or pan dulce. And, you know, after a while as a kid, you just kind of, you know, you kind of get used to being with the other kids, and so, you know, they'd say, hey, what's your name? I said, I'm John. They go, oh, hey, Juan. Yeah. You know, hey, what's your name? Oh, that's Tony, you know, that's, you know. So I just kind of ran with the crowd.
What has been striking to me about the multiple projects I've been subsequently involved in that relate to Boyle Heights has been the intense desire and passion for a multiracial and multinational community in Los Angeles that works. Given media depictions of race relations in Southern California that focus on conflict, competition, and riots, all audiences, I think, search for a Los Angeles in the past and hope for one in the future, in which individuals of different races and nations live and work side by side in harmony, even if they must struggle for survival together. Only by embracing all the complicated and rich history of Boyle Heights may the true force of the multiracial past of Los Angeles be recognized for its importance and its continued impact on the lives of us all. Thank you.